everybody. My name's Jesse, and I'm back with another awesome edition of Gen X Thinks. And today I'm going to talk about introversion or introverts. Now, when I started this podcast, I actually started it because I started realizing that a lot of Generation X shared the same traits that I do. And I just came to that realization recently, and that's why I made this podcast. Just cruising online and social media, I keep seeing more and more things that Gen Xers post about themselves, and I can totally relate. It sounds like they're talking about me. And I keep seeing more and more that Gen X are introverts. And then I go down that path. Is that nurture or nature? Or is that a genetic trait? Is that something we were born with, or something that we have acquired throughout our lives growing up the way we did? Are people true introverts, or do they just consider themselves introverts and whatever? So to start this out, I'm going to read the definition of the word introvert. That way we can start from a baseline and work from there. Now, Webster's Merriam Dictionary says an introvert is a person whose personality is characterized by introversion, a typically reserved or quiet person who tends to be introspective and enjoys spending time alone. Now, that is 100% me. I've been that way since I was a child. My friends' wives used to call me Soch, short for antisocial, because I would just prefer to be alone instead of, they'd invite me over to hang out with all, a group of people and stuff, and just wasn't into that kind of stuff. That's what I see a lot of this online, is that people will consider themselves introverts because they're shut-ins or whatever, but then they're lonely and they're depressed and they ache to be around other people, but they just can't bring themselves to do it, and they're so sad and all this. Okay, now by that definition, that's not an introvert. People that are unhappy being alone are not introverts. They're extroverts with anxiety issues or something, and so they can't go out and be themselves and be around people because of their anxiety. An introvert is perfectly happy being alone, prefers to be alone. That's an introvert. I'm perfectly happy being alone in a room. I'm no problem with it. I'm happier that way. I'd rather be completely alone than be surrounded by people. That's going a little too far. Surrounded by people would be hell. That would be a bad thing. I'd rather be alone than be with one or two other people. So yeah, even just being around other people, it's the social interaction, the constant energy drain of being social and conforming to the social standards of whatever the interaction is, that's just draining, and it gets tiring. It's like, to me, that is literally like digging a ditch. I mean, tell me to do either one and I feel the same way. Go dig a ditch, go socialize with this group of 5 or 6 people. They're equally detestable to me. I could flip a coin and go, I'd be just as miserable doing either one. So, but I'd probably pick the ditch because I know that's just physical. I could be alone with my thoughts. So, no, they're not the same. I'd dig the ditch. So, I don't know. It's difficult to correlate one with the other. I don't know. I've never been in a situation. Maybe having a cold or something. Maybe having a cold. Come down with a cold for a day, or go spend, the day with 5 or 6 people. I could go either way. You know what I mean? Now, the only time I've truly been comfortable in another person's presence is my wife. She's the only human being on the planet that I've ever been seriously just comfortable in her presence, We can sit there for hours in silence and be completely comfortable, and spark a conversation will just organically spark up, and then we'll talk for half hour or so or an hour and then go back to silence. It's completely organic with no pressure, no. I don't feel like she's going to judge me if I say the wrong thing. I don't feel pressure to talk. I can just sit there and listen. I just completely 100% natural. With her, I feel as comfortable and happy as I am alone. That's the only time in my life I've felt like that with any other person, is and that's with my wife. So I have to put that caveat in there. There is one person that I'm just completely happy with. I can it can be either way. I can be alone or with my wife. I feel the same. There's no adjustment there or anything. I can spend 3 days, and we have during the COVID thing. Me and her be locked up in the house, not locked up, but be in the house together for for a week. We didn't get on each other's nerves or anything. We just did our thing. We were just completely okay with each other. So there is that. There is one person on the world that I can be with without feeling that. I don't know. It's not anxiety. I don't know what it is. Honestly, maybe one of y'all know what it is. You have a word for that feeling when you're that feeling like a caged animal and you just want to escape. That's how it's claustrophobic, maybe. Yeah, claustrophobic. Being in a group of people chatting and just, I feel claustrophobic. I just want to escape by any means necessary. Yeah, there's that. But I see online in social media a lot. I see that a lot where people misdiagnose themselves as, or mislabel themselves maybe as introverts, but they feel the need to be around other people and they just can't. And that, I actually joined a couple of introvert groups on Facebook one time, and that's all it was. A bunch of people like that crying that they wanted to, that they were so lonely. And I honestly do not know how it feels to be lonely. I've never experienced that. I've always been just perfectly fine being alone. And I'm not a shut in. I like the outdoors. I go outside all the time. I'm always outside. I like being in the house. Don't get me wrong. I'll watch a movie or, enjoy the air conditioning just like any other civilized human being. But uh, me and my dog together by ourselves, I'm happy. I've never felt that emotion, that loneliness, that lack of other people, I guess. That's loneliness. I've never felt that. And I don't know, maybe I'm odd. Maybe I'm weird in that maybe I'm supposed to be lonely sometimes. I don't know, but I'm just not, you know. I just I'm just not. I'm happy with myself. I'll look at stuff. I'm interested in the universe. I'll go outside and look at leaves and acorns and stuff and occupy my mind just studying that stuff and looking at it and wondering about it. And I don't need anybody else to talk about it with, you know? I just don't. If I want to take notes or whatever, or do my gardening or build a shed, whatever, I can do all that stuff alone. And I'm happier that way. And that's how I am. And I work alone. My job, I have my own small business and I just work by myself. I mean, sometimes some bigger tasks come up and I have to get some ingenuity to figure out how I'm going to accomplish it by myself, but I've never come across a task that I just cannot complete because I'm by myself. I figure out a way to get it done and I get it done. Maybe that's an introversion trait, is self-reliance too. Maybe that's why Gen X is so self-reliant, is because we're introverts. Maybe that's why we have ingenuity to figure out how to do stuff, how to get stuff done, is because we're introverts and we're comfortable being alone and figuring out how to get stuff done by ourselves. You got to figure out how to get something heavy up on a roof. You figure it out. But honestly, in the past, for the first 50 years of my life, I felt like I was on an island, right? Just, I was by myself and I was different and unique, like a butterfly or something, like a unique little island. But then I started looking, just paying attention online a little bit, and there are a lot of Gen Xers out there like me. We have a lot of common traits that run through our entire generation. So I think that's pretty cool. Not being not being alone in that sense. Being alone, just physically alone, is one thing, but to be alone in just how you are, as a human being, being alone as being an introvert. Am I the only introvert? Because I don't, I don't go around and talk. Introverts don't get together in big groups and discuss stuff, discuss their traits and all that. That'd be the opposite of introversion. So maybe all introverts feel like they're alone in or special or unique or an island, in that way. Maybe all introverts have that feeling. But the purpose of this video is, one, for other Gen X introverts and maybe other introverts of any generation, any introverts out there who feel like they're alone. Maybe this will help you realize that you're okay. It's not a big deal. There are a lot of us who feel this way. It's okay to be alone. It's okay to be alone. Be happy. Do your thing. Also, to explain what an introvert is and to get that out there, because a lot of people are confused about that. And it's obvious when you start looking at it that there is some confusion about what actually an introvert is. An introvert isn't some sad, pitiful creature holed up in his bedroom, wishing he could go outside and meet people. That's not an introvert at all. All right. If that's you, you're not introverted. You're barking up the wrong tree, because if you have a problem, you cannot solve it until you realize what it is. You don't want to go into a doctor's office and your foot hurt and he start, checking your shoulder. You've got to find the actual problem first before you can start treating it. So if you're unhappy and you think it's because you're introverted, that's probably not the case. You need to figure out what is actually bothering you and fix it so you can be happy, because you're not going to be able to be happy at just wallowing around in this introversion thing, calling yourself an introvert. All right. It'd be like an introvert going out and being around people and being miserable. Oh, I'm an extrovert, but I'm so unhappy. I all I want to do is go home and piddle in my garden, you know, but I'm an extrovert, huh? It doesn't make sense when you invert it and make it the opposite, because there's no opposite of anxiety that would force an introvert out among people. There's no opposite of depression that would force an introvert out among people. So introverts we don't suffer from that kind of stuff. We're not forced out and forced to be social by some weird thing inside us, like depression or anxiety. We're not forced out, but extroverts are held back and held inside because of anxiety and depression. So you really need to look at that kind of stuff. Now, I'm not a doctor or an expert. I'm just saying that you need to just look at the definition of the word introvert and see if that's you, and then go see somebody who knows a hell of a lot more than me if you don't fit that category. Well, I'll leave you there. If you enjoyed this video, please like, subscribe, and comment. Especially comment if you're an introvert Gen Xer and you can relate to the stuff I said, because that's kind of what this video was about, is finding out how many of us are introverts and kind of gauging whether we became introverts because of the way we grew up, or we were just born that way. Are people just born introverts and that's what it is? But yes, please do that if you would. Thank you very much. And if you'd like to support the channel, you can hit the super thanks button down below this video. I appreciate that. It certainly helps. Or you can support the channel by going over to Buy Me a Cup of Coffee and buy me a cup of coffee. I'll put that link down in the description. We have some pretty cool Gen X branded gear over on Redbubble. Gen X Thinks too. That stuff is pretty cool. We got stickers and mugs and t-shirts, all that kind of cool stuff over there. And if you're interested in that, I'll put that link down in the description as well. If you don't want to or can't support the channel in any of those ways, you can always do so by sharing these videos on your social media. That really helps out a lot. Thank you for those who've already done it. And for those of you who will do it in the future, I appreciate it. And if you have any ideas for future episodes of Gen X Things, please put those down in the comment section, or you can email us. The email's over on the channel page. And as always, stay frosty, Gen X, and I'll see you on the next one.